All right, I'm going to explain why I don't need a man, and I should say a relationship, is specifically a man. I'm 60, and realistically, for me to find a relationship, I would have to be interested in men who are 65 or 70, and I'm not, because they're missing the things that excite me about a man: a fire in the pit of his belly, good testosterone, masculine energy, fitness, risk taking courage, masculine energy, and testosterone directed into action, competition, focus, intention, like my ex husband was. Unfortunately, the video I just made that was so long, I accidentally deleted it before it got done uploading. But when I met him in college, he was a man going places, and he was 24, studying for his BS in engineering. He had served 2 years in the Army. He loved running, cycling, and the outdoors, and he picked me up for our first date in his MGB convertible, which he had painted and fixed up. And I thought the whole thing was so cool. He played guitar for me. He had all of his drawings of designs he wanted to make for a recumbent bike, and I was just smitten with the whole thing. He wanted a family. He was super into me. He paid wherever we went. And I became his devoted wife. I did all the motherly, housewifely things: the cooking, the cleaning. While he did the outdoor stuff, I took care of the kids, all of the finances. I was very frugal with our money. I insisted on a 15-year mortgage so we could pay the house off faster rather than the biggest house we could get. We drove older cars. I nursed my babies. I took parenting classes. We went to church. I tried to get him to go to marriage classes at the church. He didn't want to. I gave him sex whenever he wanted. I wore pretty dresses. I kept myself fit. Like, I thought I was the perfect wife. Um, so that's how I like to be in a relationship like that. I like to do things for my family and for my man. And a woman like me, I like a masculine man like my ex-husband, but I want him to have two things my ex-husband didn't have. I want him to be in touch with his feelings and to not tell me not to keep his eyes closed in bed and get mad when I kiss him. Okay? I don't want him to have emotional issues. And number two, I don't want him to be afraid of me or afraid of people like he was. I want someone who will challenge me or talk to me when I need it, and who doesn't make me go up to put our name in at the restaurant. I want him to do it. So those are just a couple things. I didn't mind that he was messy. I did all the stuff, the housework. I picked up his dry cleaning. I made sure he had his newspapers. I would clean up his drawer, clean out his drawer when he was gone. I'm just like the domesticated wife, really. And one thing that I really like about men is their testosterone. Someone was leaving a comment earlier that testosterone causes men to be criminals, but that's not true. It is men who grow up without a family life that find a family in the gangs, or men that grew up entitled. Because testosterone, like my ex husband and my sons, and many other good men like Joe Rogan, you channel that testosterone into competition. Competition with yourself, competition with other men, to start a business, to take risks, whether you're racing on a dirt bike, a mountain bike, starting a business, and to protect, to stand up to injustice like a peaceful warrior, to protect your woman, your children, and to speak up against injustice, like when they made us put these things on and made us take the, you know what, I don't want to say on YouTube. Um, I could never date a man who went along with that, who was afraid and compliant. Like, have some guts, have some balls, have some testosterone. That's exciting. And I like a polarity relationship. And unfortunately, over the years, something has happened with men, not your fault. They think it's the plastics in the food. Joe Rogan talked about it. They think it's the plastics in the food. Like, every month, the average American eats the equivalent of a credit card worth of plastic. Testosterone levels have been falling since the 70s, so men don't have that same testosterone like they used to. I love testosterone channeled in a relational way, okay? Also, men have been shamed for being men. It's kind of the Me Too movement, which had to put improper, non consensual behavior into place, but it has also led to the feminists hating on men, and a lot of men are afraid to even ask a woman on a date. They're afraid of that. If you're afraid to ask me on a date, you're not man enough for me. If you're afraid to ask me on a date, you're not man enough for me. It's kind of a test. I want someone who's got the courage and the guts. I like men who take risks. I took a lot of risks in my life. Leaving my husband was hard. Quitting my job when I had no job. I took a lot of risks in the pursuit of my own growth. In the pursuit of my own growth, I took a lot of risks. I don't want to date some guy who's going to his 9 to 5 job, comes home, drinks a beer, and watches a movie. Some women will like that, not me. I want someone who has taken some risks, who has some courage, who stands for something. Who stands for something. You know, today I deadlifted 150 pounds. I like a guy who works out and who's fit and who has a fire in the pit of his belly. That's the best way I can describe it. And a lot of people lose that over the years. So after my divorce, somehow younger men started approaching me, and I just found it kind of fun. And then I started liking their energy because they were still happy and enthusiastic about life. They weren't all like, all women do this and all women do that. They were still happy. They were still thinking life could do everything. They hadn't yet been worn down by the disappointments of life, because we all have to some degree or another. And I like to be around people who have reinvented themselves and dug deep and reinvented themselves, so that they are like happy, like find joy in a leaf blowing, like joyful, good energy, no addictions. That's possible. I don't have any addictions. I've got a bunch of habits, like I like to sit around a lot. But I can just sit here and just look out the window and be fine. And I can go to sleep and shut my thoughts off. It's called making peace with yourself. It's really hard to find that in older people. For a while I had joined Equinox, and so I could meet some man who had like a little bit more income, because it's 180 a month, I think it was then. And I had hired my personal trainers there, and I thought I would meet some men my age. But the guys my age mostly were like very rigid, and they do their push-ups all rigid. I'm like, you look really rigid, and your skin is so brown from the sun, like don't even get near me. Like I was just grossed out. Whereas these younger guys are not at my level, so I don't even know. So that's the thing that I'm faced with, that I'm 60, and men, for a man, a single man, I mean, there are a lot of great guys in their 50s and 60s, but they're married, they stay married. The chances of finding a single man, a divorced man, also with children, who has a fire in the pit of his belly, which is either you have it or you don't, or you've got to nurture a fire in the pit of his belly, who uses his testosterone in the pursuit of, I want to see it. I want to see what you've done with your testosterone. That's exciting to me. And who wants a relationship with me, who's into me. The chances of that happening are pretty low. And even if that happened, here's the thing, guys. I have this very easy life. I basically lived the life that I had when I was married, except I don't have a husband or kids. I do my grocery shopping, I do my workouts, I clean my home, I cook my dinner, I have it a lot easier than when I had a family, but I work less than 10 hours a week because I have benefactors, male benefactors. I have a small number of male benefactors. So I'm kind of like a sugar baby. And I've done that because I don't want to work 60-hour weeks. I wasn't born to live in an office, and I'm a free thinker, and I do things differently. So I need a man who does things differently. I don't want a wheel in a cog. I'm going to be bored. Okay? And I've done a lot of things in my life that are unique. So I want a man who's unique and relational. and who is gonna satisfy me in bed, emotionally satisfy me in bed. Nonetheless, I digress. Um, because of these benefactors, if I were to get into a relationship, and there are men who want a relationship with me, it's just that they're boring. The ones I've met so far are boring, or they're too old. I'm not attracted to them. If they're boring or needy, I'm not attracted to them. But even if I were to meet someone, he'd have to be younger than me. Let's say he was in his 50s. A lot of those guys, it's possible that a guy in his 50s would want to date me. That's very possible because he's like, my kids are getting older. I don't want a younger woman who wants kids or still has kids. And basically, I'm a better version of me now than I was then. I'm fitter. I know more. I'm more developed, for sure. But I'm older. My face is older. But anyway, so for me to get into a relationship, I'd have to give up all my benefactors. And then to make the same amount of money, I'd have to work 80, 90, or 100 hours a week because they're very generous with me. Like one of them pays my rent. One of my benefactors pays my rent, and that's $2,000 a month. He just pays it. Okay, now how many hours would I have to work at $40 an hour for a few hours with my benefactor? 40? $2,000 for my rent at $40 an hour, 50 hours. I'd have to work 50 hours. And that's just my rent. I give my kids money. I've got a son in medical school. I've got an investments I'm saving up for. So some guy would have to be worth it. Why would I go from working 10 hours a week to working 100 hours a week just for some guy? I sound like a sugar mama now. He'd have to support me. He'd have to be a guy that's like, you know what? I have money. I'm successful. I can't, like one of my friends said, Charzad, I can't see you dating anyone who isn't successful. Not because I'm money hungry, but have you got something going on? What have you done with your testosterone? I like men who know how to wear a suit at the opera and teach me about wine, like someone sophisticated. You'd have to be sophisticated for me to be intrigued. Like, wow, you're interesting. You're interesting to listen to. You know so much about opera and wine and hunting that I don't even know. I'm so fascinated by you. I want to be fascinated. And I want him to be really into me and to like it when I kiss him, not be like, don't kiss me, like my ex-husband did, because he had a thing about his mom kissing him. I don't know what it was. I don't know what his mom did to him, but it wasn't good. Not sexually abused him, but scared him about intimacy. So he'd have to want to support me. So here's what would have to happen. A guy that would want to support me so I would just work part-time. He'd have to really want to date me for a relationship. And he'd have to be attractive to me sexually, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And I'm smart. I need someone smart, emotionally attuned, interesting, a little edgy, that wants to date me. Now, I'm not saying men don't want a relationship, but there are not that many men like that who are single. And he would have to want to date me. Now, I'm not saying it can't happen, but guys like that are not walking around everywhere, you know. That's why I'm saying I know that most men want a relationship, but the kind of guy I want, I don't see them. Of course, now I live in the suburbs. I I live pretty much in the suburbs. I like it that way. I look out my window and I see the trees and I'm happy, and a relationship usually turns to shit unless you're willing to do the work. I'm willing to do the work. If there was a guy like that I was excited about, I don't mind. I would move to another city. I would change jobs, but I just haven't met anyone who was exciting and who came to me as like, I want to date you. I would like to get to know you for dating. Would you like to get a coffee? He's got to approach me. I don't care that men are afraid to approach. I like a man with testosterone. That same testosterone that guys use to get up at 2 in the morning to go hunting in the backwoods, you better have that much excitement about me. If you're not as excited about me as you are about shooting a deer, applying for college, saving to get a car, or sticking your dick in a woman, or building a house, or going to work, if you're not equally excited about me, I don't want you. But all these guys, a lot of you guys watching my videos have all these excuses about why you can't go up to a woman. Well, if you're even afraid to go up to me, you're not man enough for me. I don't even want it. So he would have to come up to me, and I can afford to be choosy. I can afford to be choosy, and I will no longer let people shame me that I'm too choosy. Because when it comes to saying hi to people, I'm not choosy. I say hi to anyone. But if you want to date me, if you want to live here, you've got to have enough testosterone to ask me out. And if you got to be on some dating site and be like, oh, you want to go out with me? Like, I'm 60. I've experienced a lot of things, and I expect a lot of myself and expect a lot of men. So I'm not saying that it couldn't happen, but that's how it would have to happen. By the way, my ex-husband is remarried, and he met his now wife in real life. I don't think my ex-husband has ever been on a dating app. My son met his wife in real life. He asked her out. And she said yes. He asked other women out. I think that my sons and my daughter, they've all been on dating apps. And but the thing is, the more developed you are, like a woman, the more sweet and feminine and pretty she is, the choosier she can be. And the same for men. I'm choosy. And I don't owe anyone a relationship. But if I date someone, I'm very submissive, I'm very domesticated, and I'm very sweet. But I don't want to give that to just anyone. I want to give that to someone who's a male version of me. And that's why I make videos about being disappointed in men. Like, why don't you ask women out? Why don't you guys my age get fit? Why don't you guys who are unhappy in your marriage leave your marriage? Because there are people like us available to you. But again, my biggest sticking point is I don't want to. I've only worked full-time 4 years of my life. I don't believe in that for women. I'm not going to work full-time unless I have to. And I'm certainly not going to work full-time just so I can meet some Mr. Right. No way. I like my life. I like my life exactly how it is. So if a man wants to come into my life, he's got to make it better. You can't make it worse. You can't make it worse by being a pain in the ass or being annoying or being needy. He's got to be independent, interesting, have a fire in the pit of his belly, have good energy like I do. And, there aren't that many people. I feel like I'm an outlier. I'm an outlier. I need another outlier. That's what I need. Not better, not worse, outlier. I'm not going to make myself better at that, but I'm an outlier, and I need an outlier. Else I don't want it. Fuck that. So don't get triggered by me. I'm just one 60-year-old divorced woman sharing my story. So you might want to look at other 60-year-old women and what they say, and then, form like a little story about the life of 60-year-old women today who are divorced and why they're single and how their dating life is going. And my issue is there are not enough people with good energy. They're up to something, that are positive. Single, I don't see them. That's my story. And one of the things I really like to do is help other people with their relationships, probably because I don't have one of my own. And one of the things I always try to encourage men, it's not about your money or your height or your abs. It's about the energy you have and your confidence. You guys have got to develop your testosterone and use it to compete in the gym. To compete in the gym. Men need to compete in the gym, in your career, in getting a woman. You can't be afraid. Your testosterone makes you want to take risks. Use it. Use your testosterone. God gave you testosterone so you can compete, challenge yourself, provide, and take risks. Stand up for women, stand up for children, start a business, challenge yourself, rise. You have testosterone. It gives you energy, it gives you mental clarity, it gives you focus. You got to use that testosterone. It's very valuable. It makes your penis hard. It makes you want to have sex more than women. You need to use your testosterone instead of letting people shame you for it. And testosterone doesn't make you violent. Entitlement makes you violent, and a bad group of friends makes you violent. It's not your testosterone. So I want to see more testosterone. That's what I'm craving. Testosterone and relational men. Terry Real's course on relational men. Relational. Be relational. It's a skillful art of being relational. That's all I've got. I'm going to call this video why there's a 99% chance I will remain divorced. I will never get into another relationship. And it's really true. If I didn't have the benefactors, I would want a relationship a lot more because I like the company of a man and the affection of a man and sex with a man. Intimate, very intimate sex. The kind of intimate sex I have with my benefactors is so much more intimate and sensual than anything my ex-husband ever let me have. He was afraid of it. He was terrified of intimacy. He would get very triggered and angry if I brought any kind of emotion into sex. There was no emotion allowed. He would get angry. If I played romantic music, turn that off, Sharzad, turn that off. Or if I tried to wear lingerie, don't wear that. Or one time I told him I loved him while we were having sex in year 24 of our marriage. He was like, why are you saying that? I'm telling you, you think that he dumped me. I couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, I can't keep growing with a guy who won't let me express myself. I want to express myself, and I want to be with a guy who likes to express himself too. But I do it through my emotions more. I like a guy who expresses himself out in the world, like testosterone, masculine guys. I love that. I love masculine men. And fortunately, my benefactors are masculine, and they're sensual. But if one of them pursued me for a relationship, I don't know. I don't consider my benefactors in that way. That's a separate kind of thing I have going. But I think more women might want to consider that because we get male attention and affection, and I can be, I treat them like I'm a wife. I treat them like a husband, like a king. I like that. It's not that I don't get men, and the only reason they keep me is because I'm nice. They like a nice woman. They're not guys that want a mean, controlling woman. They wouldn't come back if it was that. I'm very nice, submissive, pleasing. It's actually, you guys don't see that side of me. I have a Just for Fans, by the way, where I also make a lot of money on my Just for Fans. I don't advertise that on here. I could probably keep my Just for Fans if I were in a relationship. My Just for Fans is pretty good income also. I have that going, and that's, I make videos and content for that, and pictures, X-rated stuff goes on there. So I have that, and I don't feel so good about the porn stuff. I'm against porn, but it makes me money, and the guys on there are super nice, very nice to me. They're very nice. They're so appreciative, There's so many nice men out there. And I get to meet them through my work. So I don't know if I want to trade them all in for one guy. I mean, I would, but it's pretty unlikely to happen. So I'm just going to support you guys in your relationships and my friends in their relationships. Because I live through you guys vicariously. I guess. I'm like the aunt that doesn't have kids, but she's always there for her nieces like that. Anyway, thanks for watching my video, you guys.